Why do some women grow quietly irritated with their husbands as they get older? It often starts in the smallest ways: a long sigh when he walks into the room, a silent glare when he asks where the ketchup is again, even though it's been in the same spot for the past 37 years. At first glance, it might look like she's bitter or just bored, but the truth runs deeper. Ask women over 60 why their once romantic partnerships now feel more like quiet roommate arrangements, and many will give you the same answer. No, it's not because he forgot their anniversary or bought her a vacuum cleaner for Christmas. Though, let's be honest, those things don't help. The real reason is practical, not emotional, not dramatic, just deeply, quietly practical. When they were younger, love came with purpose: building a family, juggling work and kids, solving daily chaos as a team. But now the house is quieter, the kids are gone, and life has slowed down. And that's when she starts to notice. He's still doing that strange thing with his toenails and asking about the ketchup. Again, back when life was busy, when the kids needed rides, the dog got into the trash, and the mortgage had to be paid. She barely had time to breathe, let alone notice the small annoyances. Back then, they were a team, a true partnership. He handled some things, she handled others, and it somehow worked. But now, with retirement here and the house finally quiet, something has shifted. She's starting to see it clearly. He really meant it when he said he was retired. Not just from his job, but from everything. Meanwhile, she's still on duty, still cooking, still cleaning, still answering the same questions every day like a personal assistant in a bathrobe. He spends hours in front of the TV, repeating the news back to her as if she hasn't heard it herself. "Can you believe this weather?" he asks, for the fourth time that morning. And she wants to scream, "Yes, Harold, I can believe it. We've been watching the same channel together for 2 hours." Retirement was supposed to be a time to rest together. But instead, she's carrying the same mental load she's always carried. Just now, with more wrinkles and less patience. She's not just a wife anymore. In many ways, she's become a caregiver. And while she still loves him, she's tired. Not just physically, but emotionally. Deeply tired. It's not that she doesn't love him anymore. She does. Somewhere in there, beneath the remote control and orthopedic socks, is the man she married. But she's exhausted, not the kind of tired nap can fix, but the kind that builds up slowly over years of doing too much and being noticed too little. Even though both are retired, she's the one still running the house, still cooking, planning, remembering everyone's doctor's appointments. Meanwhile, he's asleep on the recliner, snoring softly, right after saying, "I'll help in a minute," 2 hours ago. She finds herself Googling how to set up his blood pressure machine while stirring soup on the stove. She's tracking his meds, ordering his socks, answering his questions, like where the batteries are, as if she were Alexa with gray hair. And slowly, a thought creeps in, quiet but persistent. Would life be more peaceful alone? Not lonely, just alone. A little cottage by the sea. A quiet morning with her book. No one interrupting to talk about the game she's not watching. She doesn't actually want to leave. Most women don't. There's too much history, too many shared memories. But that doesn't stop her from missing the version of him who used to notice, who used to help, who used to care before the recliner swallowed him whole. She doesn't pack a suitcase. She doesn't yell or threaten to leave. She just gets quieter, less reactive, less inclined to explain what she needs. Because after all these years, if he hasn't noticed, will he ever? He thinks everything is fine. She's not complaining, right? But that's the thing. She's done explaining. She's moved into a new phase, quiet acceptance. Not the peaceful kind. The kind where she folds his laundry not out of love, but because if she doesn't, the laundry room turns into a sock orphanage. Dinner still gets made, but without the same warmth, because otherwise he'll eat frozen fish sticks and gripe about the sodium. The things she once did for him, she now does in spite of him. And so, she finds little pockets of sanity. An hour alone in the morning before he wakes up, lunch with friends where they all tell the same stories and laugh not because it's funny, but because if they didn't laugh, they might cry. They're not angry, just worn out, and somehow still carrying more than their fair share, even in the so-called golden years. What makes it harder is that no one really talks about this part of marriage. We celebrate the falling in love, the weddings, the babies, the big vacations. Then we fast forward to growing old together, like it's some peaceful sunset stroll. But for many women, it feels more like being stuck in a slow elevator with someone who chews too loudly and still can't remember your cousin's name after 40 years. And yet, they stay, not out of weakness, but out of loyalty, shared history, the mortgage, the memories, the way he still squeezes her hand in church. That counts for something. There's love, sure, but it's not the soft-focused romance from the movies. It's the kind of love that's been burned, stretched thin, reheated, and somehow still served. Women don't expect perfection. They never did. But at this stage in life, what they crave is recognition. A partner who notices the weight they carry, who takes initiative, not as a grand gesture, but as a simple act of love. Sometimes, all it takes is him making her tea the way she likes it, or just asking how her book is going, and really listening. But when those little gestures disappear, when he stops noticing, stops asking, stops trying, something begins to shift. Not all at once. It's not dramatic. It's slow, like wind shaping stone. One day she realizes she's been living in the same house, sharing the same bed, but feeling completely alone. He thinks she's just getting older, a little quieter, maybe more emotional. She thinks he's stopped caring. Neither of them says it out loud, and so they drift, polite, distant, going through the motions like two ships passing in the night. It doesn't have to be that way. Some couples do find their way back, but often it takes a shake-up, a health scare, a big argument, or finally speaking a truth that's been buried for years. I feel alone in this. I miss who we used to be. And when that truth finally comes out, the room goes quiet, not the kind of silence that stings, but the kind that heals. Because maybe, just maybe, it's not too late to change. Sometimes, all it takes is a small moment of humility. He gets up, walks to the drawer, looks for the scissors instead of asking for the 5th time. Or when she hands them to him, he simply says, "Thank you." Not out of habit, but with real recognition. That's how the distance starts to close. Not with grand gestures, but with small, daily acts of care. So if you've made it this far, maybe you've nodded along, maybe even chuckled at the familiar moments. Because truth is, you're not alone. Whether you've been married 5 years or 50, these feelings are more common than most people admit. This stage of life isn't about giving up. It's about noticing again, paying attention. It's about choosing each day to see each other with fresh eyes, even if they need reading glasses now. It's in the tiny things, refilling her teacup without being asked, asking about her day and really meaning it, saying, "You sit, I'll handle dinner tonight," not as a favor, but as love in action. These aren't grand declarations. They're small threads of care that hold everything together. Because even seasoned love, burned, reheated, worn thin, can still be beautiful if we choose to tend to it. So to all the quiet, resilient women out there, we see you. And to the men sitting in the recliner, maybe it's time to stand up, look around, and simply say, "I've got this one." You'd be surprised how far that can go. Marriage in the later years isn't about fireworks or fairy tales anymore. It's about the small, ordinary moments, the ones that say, "I still see you." Fixing the leaky faucet without being asked. Remembering how she likes her tea. Taking out the trash without waiting for a reminder. It's not perfection women want. Never was. It's participation. It's the effort to share the load, not just with hands, but with heart. Because when that effort fades, what's left is routine. And over time, routine without connection becomes erosion. Not loud or angry, just quiet, slow, and deeply lonely. And sadly, there's often a misunderstanding. He thinks she's distant because she's aging. She thinks he's stopped caring. No one says anything, and so they live together, but apart. But here's the hope: it's not too late. Many couples rediscover each other. Often, all it takes is one honest moment, one sentence spoken from the heart. Something like, "I miss us." So the next time you hear her sigh, when you ask where the scissors are, don't joke. Get up, look, really look. And when she helps you, say thank you, not just with words, but with presence. That's how we begin again.